All right, everybody, welcome in.
Welcome in.
Sports Daily to you here on a Wednesday. It's a hump day. We're ready to rock and roll and get you through the midweek here. Jacob Albrock, Tommy Castor, Max Power producing for us back in studio. He's taking your calls on the KFH hotline at 869-1240. We're taking your video comments on all the different video streams and the ways you can watch the show. Of course, on 12 News Connected, Facebook, YouTube, X. And if you're listening to us on the Odyssey app, we've got you covered as well. Even if you're listening to us from another time, the future perhaps, you can hit the little microphone button right there in the app. You can leave us a voicemail, and we get that over the air. We are rocking and rolling into the baseball season. We've got Royals talk aplenty today as they lose another one on the road to the Yankees last night. We will get to KU news. Jayhawks host another one of the best incoming players in the country who might be willing to play next year. We'll have our KU Insider Shreyas Laddha in through that as well. Tommy, good morning. How are you?
Hey, happy Wednesday. Good to see you today. I know we've got, of course, a lot to get to as we always do. Royals, big time. I mean, obviously talking about that road trip. And so I know we'll get into all of that for sure. I'm really interested to hearing from Shreyas Laddha about where things are at in the portal for KU. Definitely some movement with some other teams, but interested to hear his take on the Jayhawks as well. So looking forward to jumping right in.
We're getting all the smoke screens of the NFL draft as well happening right now. You've got private workouts. What does it mean? You have star players potentially entering the trade block in Jalen Ramsey and Mark Andrews, all kinds of stuff with the NFL draft. This is where, you remember that movie they made with Kevin Costner? This is where you get a lot of that kind of stuff, right? This is where you have fake trades brewing, where you have teams eager and willing to do all the things that they're willing to do. And it's interesting now because with social media, like you have so many insiders now, and they're so clearly being fed so much of the same information from the same people. And it's like clockwork. You'll have all of them report the same thing at the same time because somebody sent them a piece of information. Most of the time when I see that stuff, I'm like, if they're all reporting it at the same time, somebody wants this news out there, obviously. Right. So I don't pay much attention to that. Like this Shedeur Sanders Giants stuff. Like all the reports came out at the same time and they all said the same thing. This was a planned workout from the beginning. Like this was a planned workout. This was all a part of the plan. Like the language was the same. I'm like, okay, somebody with the Giants or somebody with Shedeur Sanders camp, probably the Giants in this one, is saying, hey, here's what this was. Here's what it is. And then I'm like, it's not any of that. I don't believe anybody right now. I don't believe them, any of them. So
yeah, that's the way that it is, because you've got all of these people that stand to make quite a bit of money off of Shedeur Sanders, depending on where he goes in the draft, not just Shedeur himself. And so everything is coordinated. You've got a PR team, and then you layer in the PR team with the Giants, on their end of it as well. Everything's being coordinated. It doesn't surprise me when we get to this time of year and you've got players that are doing workouts and there's all this speculation about where you're going to go in the draft and is Sanders going to fall. I even saw discussion yesterday on TV about whether or not Shedeur Sanders would actually be drafted after Jackson Dart, if he would fall all the way into like the second round. It's gonna, like, that's the main, I would think, the main storyline entering into the NFL draft.
Quarterbacks almost never fall like that. I mean, individually it happens, certainly, but collectively doesn't, because teams eventually, like, if the Giants don't take quarterback, like, what are they doing? Right? Like, and I'm fine not taking, where do they pick? 3, 2?
Yeah.
I'm fine not picking Shedeur Sanders there, even though I like Shedeur Sanders and I would. But like, if you're not willing to do that because Dable's coaching for his job this year, like, what else are you going to do at quarterback? Like, at what point are
You
you
got Russell
trying to
Wilson.
build?
You got Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston, right?
Yeah. All right. Okay. That helps you this year, maybe. But as an organization, what are you doing at quarterback? Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the question becomes, okay, if you roll with Wilson and or Winston this season, is there somebody that you're mocking out or projecting, or maybe even a couple of guys that you like in next year's draft? And to me, like, I think that that's been telegraphed a little bit with the offseason moves that the Giants have made. Where there's probably somebody else that they like at number 3 overall, and maybe it's Travis Hunter. And I don't know, like, there could be some other options there potentially. But I think it becomes more about who do you like in next year's draft.
It can't be that, though. It
It
can't
could
be.
be.
And you say the coach is coaching for his job, because if you're trying to project out next year's quarterbacks, you're banking on being terrible again. And at the same time, you're saying your coach is coaching for his job. If you're doing that, make the coaching change. You know what I mean? Like, both things don't
Sure, no, I think
coexist.
I think they coexist because I think that you could. I mean, maybe the messaging is mixed. Like, I'll give you that. I'll concede that. But at the same time, I don't think that there's anything wrong necessarily with making a clean break after this season. Like, you may say that, like, Dable's got to win now and we're trying to win now and all of that. I don't think that that's totally accurate. I think that they're probably looking at trying to make a clean break away from this era of the Giants with the quarterbacks they currently have, the coach they currently have, the GM they currently have, and completely start fresh next season with potentially a quarterback that they project out that they like, and then they bring in a brand new head coach as well and have a brand new era of Giants football. I think that that's probably the direction they're going to go, just in my opinion. Because I don't think that you go out and you sign Winston and you sign Wilson, and then you also draft a quarterback in a weak quarterback draft with your number 3 overall pick. I'm not convinced they're going quarterback. I
No,
think
I'm
that
not either. I'm just convinced that they don't know what the hell they're doing right now, because they, again, like, if you know you want to make a change at head coach, then make a change at head coach. It's not like Dable's not been given an opportunity. You just make the change, whether you take a quarterback or not. But to say, to the point of, like, well, they don't like it. They really like a quarterback next year. They're going to have to be one of the worst teams to be able to even draft a quarterback that they like next year. So you can't do both. You can't both try to win now and prepare to draft a quarterback next year that you like, because you're planning on being bad if you're going to do that. And if you're planning on being bad anyway, go find your head coach now and build the roster. If they like another player, like if they love Travis Hunter, I'm totally fine with that. And in that scenario, it probably is more about Dable getting an opportunity, which, quite frankly, probably should, but I don't know. It's just, none of it would matter if they weren't so clearly trying to say, oh, this is all part of the plan anyway. We don't really like Shedeur Sanders. We were always going to work him out, right? Like, oh, we like, come on. Just say you're looking.
it does look like, we don't know. It's a crystal ball at this point. Could be a pretty strong quarterback draft class in 2026, potentially led by Arch Manning and several other players that, might be in the mix to be first round draft picks. It could be a fairly deep class.
We haven't even seen Arch Manning
I'm
play.
just telling you.
Shedeur Sanders was awesome.
Here we go with Shedeur. He
was fantastic. He was great. I can't wait for him to be awesome. I'm growing into this stance. I'm growing onto this hill. We'll talk about this later in the show. When we come back, though, we're going to talk Royals. They fall again. I got an Angel Zerpa problem early in the season. We'll get into all of it as we return. Don't go away. More Sports Daily coming right up.
66 counties, 4 regions, and 1 weather team that you can trust. Find Storm Team 12 every weekday at 5:30 on the KSCW. Whatever the weather and wherever you are, Storm Team 12 is zooming in, going zone by zone to give you a more in-depth look at the forecast and some science behind the storms so you know more. We're focusing on the forecast so you can focus on what's important to you. Storm Team 12 Weather Focus, 5:30 on the KSCW.
The future of television has arrived. Next Gen TV is here with stunning video, movie theater quality sound, enhanced voice clarity, and interactive features, all upgradable for the future. Learn more at watchnextgentv.com.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy.
Is the canvas of our imagination. They tell a story. Clouds affect the events of your day. Sometimes they growl, sometimes they inspire, but they're always the messengers of nature's mood written in the sky. Storm Team 12 understands the language of clouds. We're dedicated to decoding their message so you know what to expect. Behind every cloud, there is a story waiting to be told. Trust Ross Jansen and Storm Team 12, alerting you first to the impact on your life.
When you need help, remember, you're not alone. We are here. We are neighbors. We are together. We are Kansas. We are 12 News.
They say,
What is GMFB Overtime?
It's Peter, Jamie, Kyle, and Akbar breaking down the NFL 5 days a week.
It's okay to be excited.
It's this, that, and a whole lot of... It's football for everyone.
Weekdays at 10 a.m. on KSCW.
Are following a breaking update.
Every day, all day, stream the stories that have you talking near and far.
Whoever is behind the wheel of this bus is not stopping.
From hundreds of local reporters and meteorologists spanning the country.
Chaos here this morning at the UW campus.
Search LNL for the all-new Local News Live streaming app.
Make yourself known now.
31001 in traffic pursuit.
Oh my God, here.
Investigate TV Plus begins with real people.
We investigate stories that impact you.
And inspire change every day.
Something is broken.
Real problems.
Why are they hiding it?
And real solutions.
My daughter was dying in front of me.
What was your reaction when he said that?
Investigate TV Plus, weekdays at 3:30 p.m. on KWCH.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy.
Mornings are busy. We're here to make your mornings better. We report the stories that affect you.
3 more hospital lies from contaminated apple juice just a day after the FDA issued a recall.
We're here to make your mornings better.
Closing east and westbound lanes of K96 for repairs.
With 12 News, you're prepared for your whole day.
Scattered thunderstorms across the state into the afternoon.
Stay a step ahead with 12 News this morning on KWCH and KSCW.
All right, welcome back in, everybody. It is Sports Daily. We are glad to be with you on a Wednesday. It's Jacob Albrocht, Tommy Castor. Lots of ways to get in touch with the program. You can do it on all the different video streams on YouTube. Rick asks, and boy, this is going to be a long couple of weeks here as I'm about to die on a hill I didn't intend to be on. And I'm not even sure I want to be there, but whatever. We'll have the conversation. It's fun time of the year. Rick says, what has Shedeur Sanders won? He got to one subpar bowl and lost. It's an interesting question when we're talking about evaluating NFL quarterbacks. I would ask you this, Rick. What did Patrick Mahomes win in college? What did Josh Allen win in college? If those are the two best in the business right now, nothing is the answer to that question. And I'm not saying Shedeur Sanders is either of those players. I'm
Please
saying
don't compare him to Mahomes and Allen.
I'm just saying that's a weird baseline to evaluating an NFL prospect. The things that I like about Shedeur Sanders honestly had to do with what he accomplished despite what was around him in year one, more than year two, probably. In year two, I think he just followed year one nicely. But you got to remember, and if I wasn't a Big 12 fan and I didn't fall in love with that Colorado story 2 years ago, like you watched him play and that dude was under siege constantly. And I thought his ability to win despite it is something that translates, because one of the challenges for an NFL quarterback is they're always under siege, right? And the guys who've had really clean pockets their entire careers because they play for great teams, they struggle with that. That's one of the big things that I don't think Shedeur Sanders is going to struggle with. Like Bryce Young, for example, it took him a long time to overcome how much pressure he was going to feel constantly in the NFL. Shedeur Sanders did that already. Like his line was terrible both years at Colorado. So I think that's one of the things that I like about him. And I'm not saying he's going to be a Pro Bowl. I just think when we talk about the quarterbacks who have been taken at these spots over the years in the draft, like I'm totally willing to roll the dice with Shedeur Sanders. Absolutely am, compared to his peers that have been taken in some of these spots and situations over the years. I think I would take him over Cam Ward. That's more of a knock on the rest of the class, that I like Shedeur better than all of them. But I definitely think he's worth being a top half of the first round selection.
But what does it tell you? But what does it tell you about him, by all accounts, potentially sliding in all these different mock drafts in a weak quarterback class? It'd be one thing if there were 5 or 6 top tier first round quarterbacks like we saw a season ago, and having him fall down the draft board a little bit, 5, 10 picks or whatever. It's a weak quarterback draft class. And by all accounts, he's been sliding. I mean, go back and look at where he was a month ago, 2 months ago in all of these mock drafts. And it doesn't sound like there's a whole lot of interest or excitement around him. What does that tell you?
Well, perception is everything with quarterbacks, is what it tells me. This happens. There are, when you go into it and everybody thinks a certain way. And again, like, what do you expect if you take him and you're a team that's got nothing at quarterback and you're trying to develop? I say all the time, he reminds me of Baker Mayfield. If you could redraft knowing the trajectories and the careers of a quarterback, where would Baker Mayfield go in a draft? Would he go number 1 overall again? Probably not, but he's been a really good NFL quarterback now for 2 different organizations at different times. So I think you just have to you have to know, is he Jaden Daniels or Caleb Williams coming out? No, he's not. But there aren't a lot of those guys, and there are guys who aren't that sort of, at least perceived, can't miss quarterbacks who end up being really good quarterbacks all the time. So I'm saying, I think it's just, I think they're all smoke screens. He will go, I'll bet you this, he'll go in the top 15 picks on day 1 of the NFL draft. I think this is all smoke screen stuff. These quarterbacks don't work out the way that they used to work out. So it's harder for us to get a better gauge because we don't see it, right? Like, you don't have quarterbacks going and lighting it up at the combine anymore. They all host private workouts now, which I don't blame them for. I would too. But it's just a different time. But anyway, we appreciate the comment. We can get more into the draft and that top end, but I have a sneaking suspicion that this is going to turn into a Shedeur Sanders conversation over the next 2 weeks. And that's fine. I'm totally willing to have it because I think it's really interesting. I think he's a really interesting player at an interesting program with interesting circumstances. So I'm totally fine to have those conversations over the next couple of weeks. I don't know as much about Cam Ward, right? Like, or Jackson Dart. Like, I don't have as strong a feel one way or the other on those guys. They may be fine. They may not be. I can't tell you those guys because I didn't see him play nearly as much as we saw Shedeur play watching in the Big 12. Anywho, Royals baseball, Tommy. Royals have a 2-0 lead going in. I don't want to put all the blame on Hell Zerpa, but I'm going to put some of it there. I'm going to put more of it with Matt Quatrero for continuing to put him in bad situations, and the most on the Royals offense for still only ponying up 2 runs. Perfect example was it was either the second or the third inning. It was early in the game after they got the 2-0 lead. Salvador Perez leads off an inning with a leadoff double and gets to third. I think it was Massey at that point did the job, gets him to third with less than 2 outs, and they can't get him home. That's a problem. And it's been a continuous problem for the Royals. So even though we're going to get into it, and I'm sick and tired of Zerpa being put in these situations because I think it's costing this team games early in the season, the offense has to be able to produce runs in those situations. Has to be able to. Lead off double, nobody out. I mean, you have got to be able to score that run. Even more when it's runner at third, less than 2 outs. Like you hit a fly ball, hit a ball to the right side, like something. It's crazy.
Yeah, I honestly don't fault Zerpa as much. I mean, I know that it was not a good situation for him to come into that game. I think overall we've seen enough where the 6th inning is just the danger zone for Kansas City. Like that is their Achilles heel in just about every single game that they play. And it's that no man's land where they have a hard time. And it really honestly hasn't particularly mattered who the starting pitcher is, probably outside of Cole Reagans and maybe Chris Bubich. But like it seems like that area, starters have had a really hard time getting through 6. And Matt Quatrero has had a really hard time managing the 6th inning. And he's kind of gone back and forth. Like sometimes the starter will go into the 6th inning and then get in trouble. And then for some reason, Angel Zerpa has been kind of the guy who comes in and it hasn't worked. There have been other times where the starter hasn't gone into the 6th inning and they've had to go to the bullpen, to start the inning. But at the end of the day, like they've had a really, really, really hard time managing the 6th inning. You take that 6th inning away, Royals looked really good. I mean, pitching wise looked really, really good. Offense, is still inconsistent, but you can win with 2 runs on the board if your pitching is holding the Yankees down. And that's what they were able to do outside of that 1 inning. I don't know what it's going to take. I don't know really what the solution is at this point. They've had a really hard time managing the 6th.
Well, last night, that should have been Ersig's spot. I mean, he's thrown a third of an inning since April 10th.
Yeah, but they've not been, really willing to put him in the 6th inning. It's usually the 7th or later.
They've not been willing to. That's great. He needs to because he's given up a hit in 5 innings this year, right? Like this was the strength of Ersig last year was to bail them out. And last night you come into that situation where you need 1 out. What was it? The bases loaded, right? You've got to go to your strength there. If Ersig's not going to be this team's closer, and I am perfectly willing to accept that they can use Estevez there, and I'm fine with it. But if it's not going to be Ersig in that spot, he must become your bailout guy. He's electric. There's not a pitcher on this roster, Tommy, in a 1-out scenario that I would rather have than Lucas Ersig. Not one. Not a starter, not a reliever, not anybody. And when you're in that situation, if you're going to allow the starters to try to get you to the 7th, which I'm still going to be okay with because I don't think Zerpa can do it, then that's got to be Ersig's spot on that night. Does it have to be his spot every night? No. But you should be utilizing him in a way that, well, we got, maybe we wanted to use him in the 8th, but no, we got to have it now because if we don't put a stop to this, it won't matter who we put out there in the 8th. We're not going to have the lead. And that's exactly what happened. And it's happened multiple times to the Royals this year. That has to be Ersig's spot. If everything's clean and you've got a 3-run lead going into the 8th inning and you want to use him there, great. But he showed too much last year of what he can do. I would rather see him be this, be the guy in that situation. And okay, if you don't want it to be him, let it be Daniel Lynch, who's pitching really well right now.
That's what I was going to say. The issue is that you don't have Hunter Harvey right now. He's on the shelf, injured. And so I think that Quatrero wants to, save Ursig's arm for later in the game. He's very limited on, in that clutch spot right now, who you feel confident with. You don't feel confident, at least I wouldn't, in throwing out Chris Stratton and his 8.5 ERA in that situation. I wouldn't feel confident throwing Sam Long out there with his almost 13 ERA in that spot. You've got Daniel Lynch and you've got John Schreiber. Those are mainly the two guys that have experience that can go out in that spot. And Zerpa is, out of all those guys I just mentioned, Zerpa has, even though he's not been great, he's been better than Stratton and Long. He hasn't been as good as Lynch and Schreiber, but it becomes a usage question. Like, are those guys available? They're not all the time, So I think that it's just kind of a matter of necessity. It's not ideal. All of a sudden, we're dealing with a bullpen that, with an injury to Hunter Harvey, that really shortens your guys in the back end of that bullpen. And then just ineffective pitching from some of the other guys in the bullpen. All in all, Quatrero's hands are kind of tied.
Let's keep an eye on Evan Sisk, who I've never heard of before last night, who struck out the side. But
he pitched a little bit in the bigs, I think in September. He was part of, I believe, the Hunter Harvey trade or the Lucas Ursig trade. He was part of one of those trades and came over last year.
I mean, we'll keep our eye on him. If Harvey's not there, if Harvey continues to get hurt, it's going to be a problem because this team has a little bit of a hole with him. But let me ask it to you this way. Would you rather see Zerpa come in with the bases loaded and 2 outs in the 6th or come in clean in the 7th?
I'd rather see him come in clean in the 7th.
Yeah.
One thing about Zerpa, and by the way, I misspoke. Evan Sisk was part of the Michael A. Taylor trade back in 2023. He's been in AAA all along. He's been on the big league roster a little bit off and on. But anyway, I'd rather see Zerpa come in clean in the 7th. He's not been able to be put in really good situations in the limited time that he's pitched, early this season. I'd rather see him get a clean inning.
I know a lot of it's psychology, and I know he can handle it, and that's why Quatrero goes to him. But at some point, like, you can't continue to do that thing that isn't working, and that thing with Zerpa to be this bridge guy is not working. So let me ask you this way then. Would you rather see Ursig come in with bases loaded in the 6th or clean in the 8th?
I think there's a lot more context that has to go into that. What's the score at that point?
If you're with the lead, last night's score, you're protecting a lead.
Okay, you're protecting a 2-run lead?
Sure. A 1-run lead. I don't care. You're protecting a lead.
Who else is available? Like, is it Ursig or nobody? Or is it
just that situation with Ursig? Would you rather see him come in that situation in the 6th or clean in the 8th?
I'd rather see him come in clean in the 8th, and then I'd rather have Daniel Lynch pitch in the 6th.
And so I'd rather go the opposite of that right now because I know that Ursig is capable of doing that. He did it so often for them last year and then bring in Lynch clean. But if you want to try Lynch and see if he's got that ability,
Daniel Lynch has a 0.00 ERA through 8.
But how many of it's not completely fair to compare what he's been able to do versus Zerpa because Zerpa keeps being put into situations where he can fail. You know what I mean? Like that's what when we started this and I said I don't want to lay all the blame on Zerpa. Zerpa's continuously being put in a bad situation by Quatrero. Quatrero is where we have to look here. That thing you're trying to do with him is not working. You got to stop putting him in that situation because in an ideal world, if you're going to use Lynch or Ursig in that situation, you're absolutely going to need Zerpa to get you through a clean inning, right? Like that's going to happen. And Zerpa he's had a couple opportunities at clean innings he hasn't been able to get accomplished either. But at minimum, it has to stop being him in that particular spot. Let it be one of your guys. Again, last night's situation very specifically in that, with the bases juiced and you're trying. I say Ursig there because I know Ursig's the most likely pitcher on the roster to come in and get me a strikeout or whatever it is in that spot. if you want to use him late, I mean, that's fine. I think, if we're talking bullpen talent, he's the most talented guy back there. They have Estevez who's done it, so they're comfortable, handing him the night. I'm good with that. I was good with that when they made that decision in the offseason, but that was predicated on Ursig being able to move around a little bit, and they're just not doing that yet.
Can I tell you one of the most ideal situations would be if the Royals are actually able to score some runs and get some runners driven in and scoring position to where we're not in this position?
Yes, go back to what we started with. That is where the most blame lies. There's no question. They have to be able to do a better job early in the game to try and not put so much pressure on a bullpen that doesn't have Hunter Harvey right now. The starters, are doing a good enough job. Waka did a good enough job to win that game last night in New York. Deserved credit. And the Royals got to Fried early. They did. But then you get into that. It's like, it's not that it's not enough and it's hard to score runs, and I get all that. But this season's sort of banking on this lineup being better early in the year than it was a year ago. And it was nice to see MJ Melendez hit his home run yesterday. That will help, certainly.
Got his average all the way up to 0.93 after the game last night.
That's right. But, with him, because he's what they're going to go with now. With him, I try to remember what happened for him last year. He became a big part of the offense after just an equally bad start that lasted a very long time. At minimum, let's just hope it doesn't last as long and he can get his footing. And again, we talked about this a million times last year. He means a lot to that clubhouse. I'm not saying that means he deserves to play every day, so don't misunderstand. But he means something to the team. So I think, the best case scenario is that he just starts hitting a little bit. It's not that he gets replaced. It's that because he does, he means a lot to the team. You can look at the reactions of everybody when he came back into the dugout. Like, he's one of the guys. So it's okay. Like, everything's still okay. They're losing games on the road. Everybody's losing games on the road. That one stings a little bit because they had wasted opportunities early in the game. And it was another game that you felt like you should have been able to win late in the game. And then you get that pesky sixth inning. I mean, I was gone for a week, and this is what we were talking about before I left. How do you bridge to the back end? And that's when they had Hunter Harvey. Can't be Zerpa, please, Guerrero. Can't be Zerpa anymore. Stop putting him in bad situations, in tough situations. Let him come in clean and see if he can pitch in that situation, because if he can, he at least gives you another arm back there. But he cannot keep coming in, inheriting runners in the middle of a game. Can't do it. He's just not effective.
Well, and thank goodness with the bats that you've got the bat of Bobby Witt Jr., Michael Garcia, and Kyle Isbell. Like, those are the only three fairly consistent offensive threats right now for the Royals. Salvi can get it done a little bit, but, he's struggled. Jonathan India lately has struggled. And then you've got Renfroe and Melendez that, for the most part, are basically automatic outs. Hopefully that gets turned around. Michael Massey hasn't been much better.
Didn't see that coming. He hasn't been very good at all. We can talk more Royals later in the show, but that gets us through last night. We'll look ahead to tonight a little bit later as well. Shreyas Laddha coming up next hour. More Sports Daily right after this.
66 counties, 4 regions, and 1 weather team that you can trust. Find Storm Team 12 every weekday at 5:30 on the KSCW. Whatever the weather and wherever you are, Storm Team 12 is zooming in, going zone by zone to give you a more in-depth look at the forecast and some science behind the storms so you know more. We're focusing on the forecast so you can focus on what's important to you. Storm Team 12 Weather Focus, 5:30 on the KSCW.
The future of television has arrived. Next Gen TV is here with stunning video, movie theater quality sound, enhanced voice clarity, and interactive features, all upgradable for the future. Learn more at watchnextgentv.com.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite, or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy.
It's the canvas of our imagination. They tell a story. Clouds affect the events of your day. Sometimes they growl, sometimes they inspire, but they're always the messengers of nature's mood written in the sky. Storm Team 12 understands the language of clouds. We're dedicated to decoding their message so you know what to expect. Behind every cloud, there is a story waiting to be told. Trust Ross Jansen and Storm Team 12, alerting you first to the impact on your life.
When you need help, remember, you're not alone. We are here. We are neighbors. We are together. We are Kansas. We are 12 News.
They say,
what is GMFB overtime?
It's Peter, Jamie, Kyle, and Akbar breaking down the NFL 5 days a week.
It's okay to be excited.
It's this, that, and a whole lot of... It's football for everyone.
Weekdays at 10 a.m. on KSCW.
Are following a breaking update.
Every day, all day, stream the stories that have you talking near and far.
Whoever is behind the wheel of this bus is not stopping.
From hundreds of local reporters and meteorologists spanning the country.
Chaos here this morning at the UW campus.
Search LNL for the all-new Local News Live streaming app.
Make yourself known now.
310-01 in traffic pursuit.
Oh my God, here.
Investigate TV Plus begins with real people.
We investigate stories that impact you
and inspire change every day.
Something is broken.
Real problems.
Why are they hiding it?
And real solutions.
My daughter was dying in front of me.
What was your reaction when he said that?
Investigate TV Plus, weekdays at 3:30 p.m. on KWCH.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy.
Mornings are busy. We're here to make your mornings better. We report the stories that affect you.
3 more hospitalized from contaminated apple juice just a day after the FDA issued a recall.
We're here to make your mornings better.
Closing east and westbound lanes of K96 for repairs.
With 12 News, you're prepared for your whole day.
Scattered thunderstorms across the state into the afternoon.
Stay a step ahead with 12 News this morning on KWCH and KSCW.
On KFH.
All right, welcome back in, everybody. It is Sports Daily. Glad to be here with you on this Wednesday. If you want to win some HTO, you can do that right now by texting the keyword T to 20357. That will get you 2 free cups. It will get you a free cup of tea at any of the 2 Wichita locations or in Derby. More than 26 flavors to choose from. While you're in there getting that cup of tea, try one of the new energy refresher drinks. Nice spin on a afternoon pick-me-up from HTO. So 20357, the keyword is T. You can enter once per day, message and data rates apply. Welcome back in. Jacob Albrock, Tommy Castor with you on Sports Daily as we were talking a little Royals there. Makes me wonder with Hunter Harvey, Tommy, if is he going to be a guy we can count on to be there for the Royals this year, long term? They gave up a lot to get him. And if not, how quickly do you think JJ Piccolo is going to have to be looking around? Because if he's not there, if they can't count on him, they are going to need help, I think, back there this year. And I'm quite certain they're ready to be aggressive at this trade deadline, which is a long way away and we're early in the season and all these things. But this, early in the year, they feel like they're a little bit of an arm short there. But they're definitely an arm short there if Harvey's missing significant time again. And if we didn't have last year, maybe I wouldn't worry so much about this, but he really was pretty unavailable all of last year too.
Yeah, I would be more concerned if the issue that landed him on the IL was the same issue that landed him on the IL last season. It's not. He had a back issue last year. He's got a shoulder strain this year. Like that sort of thing is going to happen from time to time. It's not ideal. The timing of it is not good at all. I mean, he went on the IL right before they went on this really difficult road trip. And so that's not ideal for sure for the Royals bullpen. But if it was like lingering back issues that reared its ugly head multiple times over and over again, at that point, I would have a higher level of concern. But yeah, I mean, I think that it's natural to at least have that thought in the back of your head, like how reliable is he going to be? I'd like to see him be able to bounce back and hopefully not have any lingering issues moving forward. If he's able to get through the remainder of this season unscathed, okay, like I feel good about that. But anything after this, yeah, you start to have some questions about what's his durability going to be like, and is he somebody that the Royals can count on? Right now, I'm okay. I'm cautiously optimistic about what he can bring when he's healthy. But I think obviously time is going to tell.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's good if he's healthy. Like I think last year's issue had you concerned, but it's if he's healthy. And is he just going to sit up and down on the, is he just going to sit up and down on the IL? He's been good this year when he's been out there, like really good. So hopefully everything's fine. But I am looking ahead. It's not just him. We've brought it up. The corner outfield spots have been a little bit of a problem. It's just like when you're in this kind of a season, why wait, right? Like this is the perfect year for the Royals to make an early mid-season type trade. Like don't wait until the trade deadline. If you're the Royals, don't wait as long maybe as you waited last year. I think they're in a position now, and it reminds me so much last year did of 2014. Then let this remind us of 2015 when they were hyper aggressive at the trade deadline. Just go get it done. If you want to wait on MJ Melendez, I can live with that. But you can't wait on both he and Hunter Renfroe again. You can't wait on both those guys. Go get, go see who's, playing well. I don't know. Call up Jack Caglione. Maybe that's it. Maybe he gets an early call with something, but let's not wait until, let's not wait. When is his, we'll ask this later in the week to Jalen Thompson. When is Cags when is his year protected? It's soon, right? Like it's in the next few weeks.
I don't know. I don't know the details to that. We talked when you were gone last week. I think both TJ and I and Brandon and I, and then we brought it up to Jalen Thompson, discussed Jack Caglione and how he's hitting the absolute cover off the baseball at AA. At what point do the Royals, out of necessity, feel like they need to bring him up? I know from a progress perspective, long-term plan for Caglione, they want to keep him in the minors. They want him to develop. They want to have that luxury to not have to rush him to the majors. But you look at the way that the Royals have really struggled with runners in scoring position, where they've struggled in the outfield and all of that. Yeah, it makes it tempting to want to have Cags' bat in that lineup at the major league level. The issue becomes positionally, he doesn't play outfield and he's blocked at first base. And it's not like, the Royals are not developing him, at least by all accounts, to be an outfielder right now. He's not getting reps in right field or left field down in.
He needs to.
They're not, though. And that's not something that the Royals are working on. Like if you go and at least this is as of last week. I haven't looked since we talked about it on the show last week, but I think that he had played in 6 or 7 games when we looked it up about a week ago at Northwest Arkansas. He hadn't played a single game in the outfield. I mean, it had been all first base. That's not his position. He's never been an outfielder. And so if you're going to do that, if you want him to be an outfielder because he's blocked at first base, then you're kicking the can down the road on when he can make an impact, because he's going to have to learn how to play outfield in the minors before you can bring him up.
What was Jalen Thompson's read on that?
That J.J. Piccolo and Matt Cotrero, I don't want to put words in Jalen's mouth, but it seemed like the overall vibe was that those guys have a plan for Cags and it's a slow play plan, and they don't want to rush him to the majors. Even though he's hitting the tar off the ball, right now in Double-A, and even though the Royals offensively have struggled, it didn't look like there were any immediate plans to bring him up because positionally it just doesn't work.
3 home runs for Cags. He's batting just 268, but he's being patient. His OPS is pretty good. I don't even care whether it's short term or long term. Cags, like, unless you're going to trade Vinny Pasquantino, and I don't want to go down that road again this year, unless you're going to trade him, Cags has to play the outfield.
So but can he? That's the question. It's not
Well,
about
you got right.
He hasn't played it.
I get it, but something's got to give, right? Like, because unless you plan on Salvi catching every day, that means either Salvi, Vinny, and Cags can't be in the lineup.
They all can't be in the lineup at the same time. If
They can on days where Salvi catches, but they can't on days where Salvi doesn't catch.
Right.
So then how does that work, right? Can Vinny Pasquantino play a corner outfield spot if they need him to? Like, I don't think so.
I mean, look, I think that really, if you have to have Cags is bad in the lineup right now, and I think that we're getting closer to that point, then maybe it's Cutrero going to Salvi and saying, look, you're batting slightly over the Mendoza line. When you're in the lineup, you've got to catch. And when you're not catching, you're not in the lineup. That being said, though,
no chance.
Well, then he's got to catch all the time. Like, I mean,
which is much better option. That's I'll live with that option. Salvi still calls a good game.
My point is that when he needs to not catch, then either like Pasquantino or Cags doesn't play, or Salvi doesn't play. It's one way or the other, because whether you're not you want Salvi to catch all the games, physically he's not going to be able to catch every single game. So either you move him obviously to first base or DH when he's not catching, but then at that point you're displacing Pasquantino or Cags. I think that there's a lot of strategy involved in it, but it does not look likely at all that the Royals are developing Caglione to play any kind of outfield position.
It's a really interesting dynamic. If he does, and I'm not even talking about right now, I'm talking about long term. If he doesn't move, if he is a first baseman only, I don't know what the answer is there. You've got a quagmire that must be solved, and somebody probably becomes a trade candidate, a trade piece potentially. So it's April 16th. Nobody overreact to any of this. We're just having a little fun here on Sports Daily. Nobody overreact, please. Nobody's advocating for anything. We're just wondering aloud. What if you get to the trade deadline and there is the ability to go get like a premier high-end corner outfielder with control, but the asking price is Jack Caglione? You willing to do that?
Yeah. I mean, I think that, depending on when you're talking about a high level, like premier corner outfielder, and how much control are we talking? 2 years, 3 years?
Let's call it 2 years of control, and let's call it all-star caliber corner outfielder.
Man, that's hard. I don't know if I'm ready to make a knee-jerk reaction to that. I know that's kind of like trying to get myself out of this question.
It could. The only reason I bring it up is because it could be a situation the Royals faced legitimately this year, where they have such a clear position of need in this logjam. And the reason I think I would probably be willing to consider it, as much as I like Cags, and I like him as much as everybody else does, he's still a prospect. Prospects don't win championships, right? Prospects are nice, but you still have to be able to do it at the big league level. Dude's hitting 268 in Double-A right now. Let's not overreact to what he's doing. He just hits the ball really, really hard when he hits it. And he's showing good patience, which is the next thing that you want to see, right? So I would consider, because the other thing is, like, do you trade Vinny? No, probably not. Or do you do something with Salvi? And I'd say that would be crazy. I wouldn't do that because of what he means and like his value into the open market. So no. So I think the most tradable asset of the three to help yourself the most at that spot is Caglione. That's why it's crazy to me to not even consider putting him in right field and seeing if he can move even left. I don't care.
I don't think it's crazy to try to develop him into an outfielder. But the point is, it doesn't look like the Royals are doing that.
He doesn't have to be an outfielder forever. Just learn how to do it right now. Just learn how to do it for long enough until it gets to the point where this log jam doesn't exist as much anymore, which is over time going to work itself out. Like if you're in love with Cags, you got to give him a spot to play. But there is no world where Salvi's not in this lineup every day. Vinny Pasquantino, you're also is still a youngish player that you need to have in the lineup every day. I mean, those are two key cogs on a team that.
I think it's a pipe dream. I think it's a pipe dream to, have him play in the outfield. From the way that Jalen Thompson spoke, it doesn't look like there are any plans for the Royals to do that.
We'll pick the brain a little bit, and I don't even know who. Man, I just sort of assumed he would develop that way over time this year. Can he play third base, right? Like, I don't know what he's capable of because he was a two-way player in college. He never really got tested in any of those areas. He pitched, right? Maybe that can be his position. Pinch hitting bullpen arm that can play.
I mean, I'm even looking up way too early trade deadline candidates around Major League Baseball. And, there's Luis Robert from the White Sox, potentially could be traded. He's got, control for a couple of years. He's
he's
year
expensive already, though.
Hitting 38 home runs, but you've got control for him and you can walk away from the contract if you don't like it. So that's a possibility. And then really it's like Starling Marte. Like those are the way too early candidates in the outfield.
It would have to be. I mean, we're talking like, I don't know, Juan Soto comes up again. That some version of that, right? Yeah. All right, we'll come back. Hour number 2 coming up. We've got Shreyas Laddha in to talk KU. We'll get to what's the news there before we get to Shreyas. So a lot more coming. Another hour of Sports Daily coming your way.
66 counties, 4 regions, and 1 weather team that you can trust. Find Storm Team 12 every weekday at 5:30 on the KSCW. Whatever the weather and wherever you are, Storm Team 12 is zooming in, going zone by zone to give you a more in-depth look at the forecast and some science behind the storms so you know more. We're focusing on the forecast so you can focus on what's important to you. Storm Team 12 Weather Focus, 5:30 on the KSCW.
The future of television has arrived. Next Gen TV is here with stunning video, movie theater quality sound, enhanced voice clarity, and interactive features, all upgradable for the future. Learn more at watchnextgentv.com.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy.
It's the canvas of our imagination. They tell a story. Clouds affect the events of your day. Sometimes they growl, sometimes they inspire, but they're always the messengers of nature's mood written in the sky. Storm Team 12 understands the language of clouds. We're dedicated to decoding their message so you know what to expect. Behind every cloud, there is a story waiting to be told. Trust Ross Jansen and Storm Team 12, alerting you first to the impact on your life.
When you need help, remember, you're not alone. We are here. We are neighbors. We are together. We are Kansas. We are 12 News.
They say,
what is GMFB overtime?
It's Peter, Jamie, Kyle, and Akbar. breaking down the NFL 5 days a week.
It's okay to be excited.
It's this, that, and a whole lot of... It's football for everyone.
Weekdays at 10 a.m. on KSCW.
Are following a breaking update.
Every day, all day, stream the stories that have you talking near and far.
Whoever is behind the wheel of this bus is not stopping.
From hundreds of local reporters and meteorologists spanning the country.
Chaos here this morning at the UW campus.
Search LNL for the all-new Local News Live streaming app.
Make yourself known now.
31001 in traffic pursuit.
Oh my God, here.
Investigate TV Plus begins with real people.
We investigate stories that impact you.
And inspire change every day.
Something is broken.
Real problems.
Why are they hiding it?
And real solutions.
My daughter was dying in front of me.
What was your reaction when he said that?
Investigate TV Plus, weekdays at 3:30 p.m. on KWCH.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy.
Mornings are busy. We're here to make your mornings better. We report the stories that affect you.
3 more hospital lies from contaminated apple juice just a day after the FDA issue a recall.
We're here to make your mornings better.
Closing east and westbound lanes of K96 for repairs.
With 12 News, you're prepared for your whole day.
Scattered thunderstorms across the state into the afternoon.
Stay a step ahead with 12 News this morning on KWCH and KSCW.
Now, from Wichita's most listened to sports radio, 97.5 and 1240 KFH. This is Sports Daily with Jacob Albrock and Tommy Kester.
Hey there, welcome back in for another hour. We've been talking a lot of Royals. If you missed any of it, you can go back and listen on the Odyssey app. And Royals baseball is tonight on KFH, facing the Yankees on the road. Tune in to 97.5 and 1240 for Royals baseball. Download the app, visit odyssey.com, search for KFH. It's another 6 o'clock start if the Royals are going to get it done. Well, they're going to have to get it done in a tough place to go in New York, which was what made last night frustrating. They had the perfect opportunity to get that done. They couldn't get it done. They play tonight, and we'll see. Just get out there and give it another shot. They're slight underdogs again tonight. So get out there, get it done, Royals. Stop giving it to Zerpa maybe in the 6th inning. That might help. That'd be my first suggestion. I'd quit doing that if I were Matt Quatrero. But we talked all about that, what it means for the Royals. You get, who do we have going tonight here? We should be on the turn of
Bubic, right?
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, Bubic and Clark Schmidt. That's right. Clark Schmidt's making his first start of the year. That's what I couldn't wait on. We'll see if Bubic can keep it going. Sure would like to see it.
You can't get swept
his way.
You can't get swept by the Yankees. You've got to at least grab one from them on the road, and then heading into a series against Detroit and their great pitching. You got to break the 3-game losing streak. You got to, get one here on the final day of this set against the Yankees before you head to Detroit.
Yeah, I agree. It's a brutal 10-game stretch that they're in the middle of right now. and they've won one of the first 5, right? They're 1-4 through the first 5 of those games. And it doesn't get any easier. That's, again, those are the kind of things that make games like last night so frustrating, because you felt like, for a lot of different reasons, right, that they had the ability to win that game. That's what makes it frustrating. They should have won that game. They were in a position to, not just because of the blown, 6th inning, but because they should have had a bigger lead going into the 6th inning. And both of those things are challenging them, and they're going to continue to challenge them on the road. They are. And winning on the road is hard, and winning, games in the places that they're going to on this road trip is also going to be difficult. But the Royals, by gum, are supposed to be a World Series contender, and I think that they are. So they got to be able to win some of those games. That'll come later tonight. You can hear it with us right here at 6 o'clock. The NBA playoffs, I think, are starting, Tommy. It's been such a weird shift in my life, and I talk about it on the show all the time. Like, I just am not locked in anymore at all. And I will, it'll probably be about the conference championship series where I'm going to jump into this thing. I typically do at that point. My 5-year-old son, can't watch enough sports right now, which has been fun, but he loves basketball. So I'm going to be able to find him consistent basketball right now. But I just, like, it's so strange to me to have fallen so far away from the NBA. And there's a million reasons for it. It's college basketball mostly. It's, star players not playing all the time bothers me a little bit. But here we go. I mean, the NBA playoffs are here, and I think it's time to start, for us, you and I, to probably start seeing if Oklahoma City can really do this, because I know there are a lot of Thunder fans, but not a lot, but there are Thunder fans in the area just because of their proximity to us is close. But here, I mean, they're playing games now.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the biggest storyline, at least for me, is what happens in the Western Conference, and can the Thunder get it done? Can they be a team that we look at as a legitimate contender, a legitimate title contender? And it's been fascinating to watch the growth of this organization from being the youngest team in the NBA and really totally breaking things down to the foundation and then building it back up with these young stars. We saw flashes of it last year, I think maybe even 2 years ago, but can they actually take that next step and become an NBA champion? For me, that's going to be the closest thing that I watch.
Yeah, I mean, look, that young team is fascinating, right? They're very interesting. So we'll keep our eye on it. Okay, a couple of and we'll get into this with Shreyas Laddha. AJ Storr headed to Ole Miss. That was news yesterday. Pretty interesting. Pretty interesting spot for him. That happened. The other big news as it pertains to Kansas is Tyron Stokes is coming in for a visit this weekend. Now, before I was talking with Brandon Zinner yesterday, as I walked into the KWCH office, I didn't know who Tyron Stokes was. He's a high schooler in the 2026 class. So that's great. And he is, by some accounts, the number 1 player. Some have him as the number 2, but he's one of those type of dudes. He's coming to Kansas for a visit. Okay. They have a lot of top players coming for visits. Big deal, right? What really catches your ear, though, is there are a lot of people that think he may reclassify. Now, all of a sudden, it's like, okay, hang on a minute. If he's going to reclassify, visits in April mean a whole lot, right? Like, it's more than just kicking the tires on every team being interested. If he really is interested in reclassifying, and he's like 6'7", 250 pounds, he's a monster. Now it's time to pay attention to that, because there won't be time to just go visit all the blue bloods like a lot of these guys do. If he reclassifies coming to Kansas this weekend, and we'll ask Shreyas Laddha about this to make sure I'm not overreacting to it, but that feels pretty significant. Kansas will have an opportunity for a guy like that to play a lot of minutes next year. I mean, for what they are building around and what is currently on the roster, a 6'7", 250-pound forward with that kind of pedigree slides right in, doesn't he? Like, that's and for anybody, it's like, oh, I'm like, Cooper Flagg, right, was a talented forward who reclassified and made a pretty big impact, I'd say. So I wonder how real that could be, both in his interest in Kansas and the reclassification, but how interesting would it be, I think, bigger picture, if Bill Self has that kind of team that's led by a sophomore and 2 blue chip freshmen, and really right now, no experience coming back.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you've got a ton of potential and potentially a really high ceiling and not a lot of experience.
It's
And
not a it's not a normal self roster. I
it's
don't.
not. And there are, a couple of transfers that have been already committed to Kansas, including Jaden Dawson from Loyola Chicago and Trey White from Illinois. Those 2 guys have already committed. And I know they hosted Melvin Council Jr., who's from St. Bonaventure. He's a guard and he's pretty talented and he's got quite a bit of experience. And there are a couple of other guys that are looking at as well. For me, I think the biggest question is going to be who backs up Flory Badunga. Like, what does it look like from a backup big perspective? And who are they able to grab that? I think, in my opinion, the years where Kansas had the most success down low was when they had backup big men that had a lot of experience. Like, think of the years with Mitch Lightfoot. Like, Mitch Lightfoot's ceiling was not very high, but he was super experienced. The years they had David McCormick backing up Udoka Azubuike. Like, he wasn't like super talented, but he had a lot of experience and Bill Self could trust him and lean on him in big situations. If Flory Badunga gets in foul trouble, and there are going to be games where Badunga gets in foul trouble, who can you lean on as your backup big? You're going to need a guy that Bill Self can trust and can lean on. That's what I'm looking at more as far as who they go after. Who are they going to be able to lean on to be in that front court that, can help back up?
It's a good question. I don't know that I'd say it's the most pressing yet, because I think they still have to fill out a starting lineup to some degree. But what's interesting to me about it is that they haven't gone and gotten it yet, right? There's nobody to do that at this point. Zach Clemens is gone. If you thought there was a pipe dream, he might be able to do it. That's pretty much it on the roster. So yeah, at some point they are going to have to go get. And I saw, Kentucky didn't they just have a big get in? They did. K-State had a big get in. Like, there are going to be some bigs out there. But when we go back to Flory Badunga and the opportunity that's there, you better be ready to play, big fella, because you're going to play. Like, you're going to get a lot of dang minutes.
If that was your concern last season, not getting enough playing time, that is going to be out the window this year. So, like, I would say starting now, leading all the way to the start of the season, you better be working on your conditioning. And he's not, he's not a guy that I felt like that his motor was not strong.
Yeah,
I think
he's
got a pretty solid motor. But man, like, when you go from, and I don't know exactly what he averaged last season. I don't have it in front of me. I'm sure he averaged 10-ish minutes a game, somewhere around there. That's going to be tripled probably, if not more, for next season. So get ready for that, man.
His challenge will be staying on the floor. And it's so interesting to me. And we don't know what Wichita State or K-State's going to look like next year either. I get that. That's pretty normal. That's become the normal. It is not the normal for Kansas. This is the first year of this in the chaos of the portal. This will be the first year of it for Kansas. They've had tons of returners basically every year since the portal has gone wild. That 60% of your starting lineup, right? And so we'll see. I don't know what that looks like for Bill Self. That's why I've always been so fascinated, even going back to last year. Like, we haven't had a chance to see Bill Self operate in the new normal. You're getting that opportunity this year. Absolutely, unequivocally, he will have to rebuild a roster. So we'll get with Shreyas Laddha later in the hour for that. Stick around. We got more Sports Daily coming right up.
.97.5 and 1240 KFH.
Chick, are you familiar with the Dow Jones Index?
I am. However, I'm more of a FTSE guy.
The FTSE, the top 100 companies in the London Stock Exchange.
Oh, is that what that is?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. I just like to say FTSE.
Chick, for the sake of credibility, during the rest of this Silac commercial, you are only allowed to play the slide whistle. The stock market, or shall I say the shock market, is on a wild ride. It goes up, then it goes down, and then it goes up and down. Again and again, you got it. All right, maybe it's time to turn down the sounds of gloom and doom.
Counter volatility with an annuity from Silac Insurance Company. Reliable annuity payments when you want, designed to protect your retirement. Your nest egg? It won't even crack. To learn more, just go to SilacINS.com. SILACINS.com. An annuity from Silac Insurance Company. Plan on it, live on it. Performance varies. Past performance is not indicative of future results. Consult with your financial advisor.
Long John Silver's $6 shrimp baskets will have you hooked. Choose hand-battered, pop-uply perfect, grilling and sizzling, or for a limited time, crispy coconut. Skip the wait when you make our app your first mate. Long John Silver's Fish Yeah.
Hey, Shocker fans! Wichita State softball is in full swing throughout the month of April. Catch the team in action as they pursue another AAC regular season championship under the leadership of head coach Christy Bredbenner. Tickets start at only $11 and group discounts are available. To secure your seat inside Wilkins Stadium, visit GoShockers.com/tickets or call 316-978-FANS. That's GoShockers.com/tickets or 316-978-FANS.
This is the story.
66 counties, 4 regions, and 1 weather team that you can trust. Find Storm Team 12 every weekday at 5:30 on the KSCW. Whatever the weather and wherever you are, Storm Team 12 is zooming in, going zone by zone to give you a more in-depth look at the forecast and some science behind the storms so you know more. We're focusing on the forecast so you can focus on what's important to you. Storm Team 12 Weather Focus, 5:30 on the KSCW.
The future of television has arrived. Next Gen TV is here with stunning video, movie theater quality sound, enhanced voice clarity, and interactive features, all upgradable for the future. Learn more at watchnextgentv.com.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy.
It's the canvas of our imagination. They tell a story. Clouds affect the events of your day. Sometimes they growl, sometimes they inspire, but they're always the messengers of nature's mood, written in the sky. Storm Team 12 understands the language of clouds. We're dedicated to decoding their message so you know what to expect. Behind every cloud, there is a story waiting to be told. Trust Ross Jansen and Storm Team 12, alerting you first to the impact on your life.
When you need help, remember, you're not alone. We are here. We are neighbors. We are together. We are Kansas. We are 12 News.
What is GMFB overtime?
It's Peter, Jamie, Kyle, and Akbar breaking down the NFL 5 days a week.
It's okay to be excited.
It's this, that, and a whole lot of... It's football for everyone.
Weekdays at 10 a.m. on KSCW.
Are following a breaking update.
Every day, all day, stream the stories that have you talking near and far.
Whoever is behind the wheel of this bus is not stopping.
From hundreds of local reporters and meteorologists spanning the country.
Chaos here this morning at the UW campus.
Search LNL for the all-new Local News Live streaming app.
Make yourself known now. 83101 in traffic pursuit.
Oh my God, here.
Investigate TV Plus begins with real people.
We investigate stories that impact you
and inspire change every day.
Something is broken.
Real problems.
Why are they hiding it?
And real solutions.
All right, welcome back, everybody. It is Sports Daily. We are rocking and rolling along on a Wednesday. Tommy, we mentioned this off the top. We'll go back to the NFL draft now because Mark Andrews is maybe on the block. Jalen Ramsey is maybe on the block. I think this has become a little more popular lately to potentially move key players. We'll get to Ramsey in a second. Man, there's no world where I can imagine Mark Andrews not with Lamar Jackson and the Ravens this year.
I get it, but I also think that if they can get, value out of him, they've really done a good job, I think, of strengthening their offensive weapons surrounding Lamar Jackson, obviously the Derrick Henry addition, and then what they've done at wide receiver. It does make Mark Andrews slightly more expendable. I don't know if that's the right move, or I don't think it's the right move necessarily, but I would certainly understand it if they do make that move.
But what would for a contender like that, when Mark Andrews has been Jackson's top guy more or less forever, and I get that he had the mistakes in the playoff game, I understand all that, but how are you going to make yourself better when you're already a Super Bowl contender by trading Mark Andrews? I guess that's the part that makes it a little more difficult for me to totally wrap my head around, because what is somebody going to give you for Mark Andrews right now?
If you feel like you can upgrade defensively in the draft, through the draft, by moving Mark Andrews, and I don't know what teams are even in the mix for him. If you
You're
can
not
have
getting a first for Mark Andrews, though.
I didn't say a first, but if you
no, I know,
get,
but how much better? That's what I mean. How much better can the Ravens get? If it to trade him away, you'd have to tell me you're going to get better.
I mean, I think that it's going to be unlikely that he gets moved. I think that ultimately they'll keep him. But if they do move him, even if it's like a third-round pick or something you get for Mark Andrews, you can find a third-round defensive player that can come in and immediately impact your team, potentially. I don't know if that's going to be the direction that they would want to go with a pick like that. But they've had issues defensively. And so I think that would be a situation where they feel like they can make Mark Andrews expendable because of the other weapons they have on the offense around Lamar Jackson, with an opportunity to then upgrade defensively.
Now, they did get better defensively toward the end of the year. Here's why this is a story. General Manager Eric DaCosta, and everything I'm telling you, everything is smokescreen and grain of salt. So he was asked if there's a possibility to trade Andrews, which I don't know why he was even asked that, quite frankly, but here's what he said. I never know what's going to happen. I would never want to say this or that, but I can tell you Mark Andrews is a warrior. He's played his butt off for us. His competitiveness, his talent, his attitude, his leadership, all valued here. He's a great player. We're in the business of keeping as many great players as we can. But there's always a lot of unpredictability with the draft. You just never know.
Yeah, I think that's fair. He's non-committal on that, but
he's not going to say the same thing about Lamar Jackson, right? He's going to say, no, we're not trading Lamar Jackson.
Nobody's asking. I mean, that's apples and oranges.
Well, no, what I'm saying is he didn't slam the door shut on it. He easily could have. So it tells you that it looked like they're probably willing to listen.
Which, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't blame Eric DaCosta for saying that they would be willing to listen on Mark Andrews. I think the majority of GMs would be willing to listen on a majority of their players, not all their players, but a majority of their players. And I don't think that Mark Andrews is totally off limits. I don't think he should be totally off limits. Hey, if a team is willing to overpay for somebody like Mark Andrews, absolutely listen to that. I don't have a problem with that at all.
I don't have a problem with it. I just wonder if it's real. And I don't know how it makes the Ravens better. That's the curious part for me. But I'll give you an interesting, what about the Bears, right? That would seem like an interesting spot for a guy like that. Here's the other one that it seems more concrete, right? Basically, the Jalen Ramsey and the Dolphins are good to talk a trade. It's the best interest of all parties, Chris Greer, the GM, said, to move forward separately. So, okay, Jalen Ramsey's problem is the same with Tyreek Hill, because I would imagine they're listening to offers on Tyreek Hill too, who's now in another, off the field situation. But I mean, can anybody afford Jalen Ramsey at this point? I think is the problem there. Like to me, there's one obvious answer to where who should have the most interest in him, and it's the Bengals. But can anybody afford? He just became. Didn't that happen last year, where he became with his extension the highest paid corner in the league? I mean, I feel like that just happened. So
Yeah, it did. Look with Jalen Ramsey. Like I feel like the Rams in general are, they. I don't know. They could
like
be
the Dolphins. The Dolphins aren't a contender,
right. No, so I get it. Like if you want to move him away from Miami, I get that. And could there be I've seen the Rams be a potential landing spot where there could be a reunion to go back with Sean McVay and that whole setup there with LA. That would be something that I would understand that move.
Apparently, the Lions have the second most cap space. They still have money to spend. That would be a fine fit if, Ramsey's a polarizing player, I think, but I think he's not like a disruptor. I don't think. So, yeah, Lions, Bengals. There are teams that would make sense and have the money. Boy, Jalen Ramsey late and a late addition to the Lions. Are you kidding me? With the Lions? That would be the Bengals are desperate for it, right? The Lions, it's just like it becomes a bit like sort of an embarrassment of riches there. That's interesting. His name certainly interesting. And the Dolphins find themselves in this place. Like what a weird place, man. I say this all the time, how fortunate the Chiefs are and fans are. You could say that for the Ravens right now, the Bills probably. I mean, maybe the Lions have entered this conversation, but the Dolphins now become one of these teams who are good but not good enough, and that self-realization is a painful one. You're not going to win with this combination of people, as good as they can be at times, and you just sort of have to blow it up despite being a good team. And it's the right thing to do. It's what the Cowboys have never been able to do, but as an example, they've never been able to pull the trigger on it. But man, that sucks if you're a Dolphins fan. Whew.
I think it's a fact of the matter in the NFL that you can't be 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You're either all in or you're all out. And I think that with the Dolphins and Mike McDaniel and Chris Greer, the GM there, I think they recognize that they've got to be, unfortunately, all out, that this combination isn't working. And if they ultimately move on from Jalen Ramsey after they made him the highest paid cornerback and went all in with this combination of players, and that's a kind of waving of the white flag, like, hey, this is not working with and not just with Jalen Ramsey, with our total personnel that we have. I think you would be on the fast track to rebuilding altogether. And it's kind of, again, waving that white flag that, hey, we don't have the team that we thought we did to compete legitimately for a championship, and we've got to start over and look elsewhere.
Yeah, look, it sucks. It totally sucks. If you're a Dolphins fan, if you're a Browns fan, I feel for some of these fan bases, because and it's not like they didn't try, right? Now the Browns were a little more laughable, but the Dolphins really tried this thing. They built this roster a certain way, full of, speed and all the different things they tried to do, and then Tua gets hurt all the time, and they never really can get it's just so hard in the NFL. It's so dadgum hard in the NFL to do this thing. And man, I just I feel bad for these if you're a Dolphins fan right now and they're talking about trading Jalen Ramsey and Tyreek Hill, what do? You just throw your hands up in the air. It sucks. It totally sucks.
You got to look at rebuilding. You got to look at what kind of value can you get out of a guy like Jalen Ramsey? What can the return be? And then how do you go about making moves that can sort of reset things on both sides of the ball? That's got to be the strategy. If you're looking at moving Jalen Ramsey, it's got to be what is the best opportunity for us to get a tremendous amount of value in return for the guy that we're paying a lot for. And the thing about Ramsey too is that he's 30 and he saw a dip in his production last year. He's still, a former All-Pro and can still, compete at a really high level. but he's not the elite cornerback that he was 4 or 5 years ago. So your value in return is going to be less than it was before he signed that contract, and you've got to have a team that is willing to take on that contract too. I think for me, kind of comparing the teams that would be interested in him, and I think the Bengals, I think you have to look at them first. And I know it's alluring with the Lions, but the Bengals might be desperate enough to take on that kind of contract because they desperately need the help in the secondary.
Yeah, the Bengals are not the easiest because they would have to do some roster gymnastics, I think. After all the money they just paid their receivers. The Lions you just look at because I think for them it's just money and they can do it. And what are you willing to give up for a guy like Jalen Ramsey? If you could, the Dolphins are desperate to move him. If it cost you a third and money to go get Jalen Ramsey, the Lions are probably the easiest, but they're probably not willing to give up as much draft capital as the Bengals, who are more desperate, I would say, for it. So that's interesting. The other name, CBS puts on the Falcons as another name to watch. They have even less of a financial, situation to be able to do that. So, we'll see with that. One other headline before we get to Shreyas Laddha next segment, or one more talking point that's been out there. And this goes back to something we talked about yesterday, Nico Amaleava, who, by the way, I've seen people really like him as an NFL prospect, which is interesting as we talk about the draft coming up. But North Carolina has been rumored as a team that might be willing to get into that mix. And
they're not. They're out. They're out on him. They made that announcement last night. That's not happening.
And that's great. But there keeps being, floated out there that they have all this money to spend. And are they? Do you think they are? Why else do you bring in Bill Belichick? I think. What are you doing there? And what are you doing at North Carolina? And I'm not saying they need to go get this player. But are they really going to be that? Are they really going to commit to that? Do you think? Because they kind of have to if you bring in Belichick, right? What else are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, I think that really bringing in Belichick what should have been a major jolt to their NIL offerings, right? Like, I think that it would majorly be, that's the pitch to the donor base and to the fan base is, hey, we've got one of, if not the greatest coach of all time, deciding to come back to, North Carolina and be the coach here. We've got to support it financially. And so, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all if they're working with a major NIL budget, because that's going to rally the troops to start, pulling out their checkbook and writing checks to NIL. That's a big reason why he's there. And that's an underrated part of NIL is if you've got a big enough name coach that can move the needle and that can rally the troops, then you in theory should be able to get a lot more money. So that doesn't surprise me if they've got a good amount of NIL budget to be able to go and attract players.
Well, and it'll go year by year too. And there was one reporter that said they're out. 24/7 still has him as they're still projecting him as of today to go there. So we'll see how much truth there is to that report. Here's what else becomes interesting out of that. North Carolina is one example. They're not anywhere near right now. Well, I shouldn't say that. They're 13th right now in 24/7's transfer portal rankings, like as far as total overall class. So that they're attacking it that way. My guess would be if they got Nico, they'd go near or to the top of this list. Do you know who's at the top of this list right now?
I don't. No.
And this snuck up on me, by the way. There are a couple of interesting things, and I think we have enough time to hit on this. Texas Tech is the number one ranked portal team class, right now, according to 24/7. That's wild to me. And that speaks to that 1 year. We saw TCU do this, right? TCU's done this. They made it to a national championship game. Texas Tech, which would be, it wouldn't be good competitively because we follow Kansas State and Kansas, but that's pretty wild to see Lubbock and that base get up like that. They have 12, according to 24/7, 4-star transfers, which is pretty interesting. You know who the second team in the Big 12 is?
Oh shoot. Okay.
Who would you
Let me
guess?
think. Colorado.
Yes.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? Everyone
It
thought this
doesn't
was
surprise me.
But everyone, all the flash in the pan prime, he's leaving, he's going to the NFL, he's only going to be there with his sons, all of this stuff. Not only is he still there, even though they're not, he's got another really good class coming in. Like, he's not letting up, which is great for the Big 12, that they just keep on churning without his star player sons there. That's fantastic news, I think, for the conference. Then you have Kansas, I think, which should excite Jayhawk fans. By the way, Kansas has put together, according to this list, and this is among all teams in the country, the 26th best transfer class, 21 players, 22 players, 20 of them 3 stars right now. So that's a potentially big deal, as we wondered about Jalen Daniels coming back and all of the things with Kansas. Kansas State is not even in the top 50.
With Kansas, the biggest thing, has been they were losing a bunch of players after last season. And that's why it was kind of like, the last year you thought was the year that they were going to be able to take that step forward because they needed to. They were going to be losing a bunch of players, and that didn't ultimately happen for the Jayhawks last year. How do you then go and replace all those high-level players? And it looks like Lance Leipold's been able to do that, at least on paper.
Yeah, well, of course it's on paper, right? It's no different than the difference, I think, now in college, and this is part of the reason this is an interesting discussion, because we wondered, Jalen Daniels has come back, but what's he going to play with? Well, it's never been easier, and I say easy tongue-in-cheek, it's never been more achievable, let's call it, to put together a roster quickly than it is right now in college football and college basketball and college sports through the transfer portal. So yeah, I think that's to see Kansas up there, there's a small part of that in the fact that you knew they were going to need a bunch of players, but they've been able to do it effectively according to, rankings, sites and I don't know how else to evaluate this stuff. K-State, who needs far less, by the way, ranked all the way down at 56, but that's a product of they really didn't need to bring a whole lot in this year. But if you're a Kansas fan right now wondering, how do you even operate with all the losses they have? This is how you do it. We can ask Shreyas Laddha about this as well as on the basketball side when we have him next as we're looking at it. I think, and I would guess, and I don't want to put words in his mouth, so we'll get his opinion, that there's a pretty good feel of this being a successful offseason for Kansas football. Don't you think? Bringing in a bunch of that's where Kansas and Kansas State live. They live with 3-star talent. So the fact that they were able to go get these guys, that's probably a good sign.
Yeah, I think that's really important and an underrated part of, what the coaching staff has to do at both of these universities, especially coming off of a season where they're going to need to replace players. And, they're returning both of their starting quarterbacks, both KU and K-State. But of course, the question is, as you just said a minute ago, who is with them? Who are they throwing to? Who's protecting them? Who are their weapons? And so that's a good sign, I think, for sure.
You know where Texas ranks? 2 spots out of Kansas State at 54. Between Kansas State and Texas, Notre Dame. So for all this is just going to be the rich going out and getting all the best players every year. No, it isn't. It's a year-to-year proposition with the portal. Texas Tech is at the top of the list this year. We'll talk to Shreyas Laddha about KU next.
"66 counties, 4 regions, and 1 weather team that you can trust." Find Storm Team 12 every weekday at 5:30 on the KSCW. Whatever the weather and wherever you are, Storm Team 12 is zooming in, going zone by zone to give you a more in-depth look at the forecast and some science behind the storms so you know more. We're focusing on the forecast so you can focus on what's important to you. Storm Team 12 Weather Focus, 5:30 on the KSCW.
The future of television has arrived. Next Gen TV is here with stunning video, movie theater quality sound, enhanced voice clarity, and interactive features, all upgradable for the future. Learn more at watchnextgentv.com.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy.
Is the canvas of our imagination. They tell a story. Clouds affect the events of your day. Sometimes they growl, sometimes they inspire, but they're always the messengers of nature's mood, written in the sky. Storm Team 12 understands the language of clouds. We're dedicated to decoding their message so you know what to expect. Behind every cloud, there is a story waiting to be told. Trust Ross Jansen and Storm Team 12, alerting you first to the impact on your life.
When you need help, remember, you're not alone. We are here. We are neighbors. We are together. We are Kansas. We are 12 News.
They say,
What is GMFB overtime?
It's Peter, Jamie, Kyle, and Akbar breaking down the NFL 5 days a week.
It's okay to be excited.
It's this, that, and a whole lot of It's football for everyone.
Weekdays at 10 a.m. on KSCW.
Are following a breaking update.
Every day, all day, stream the stories that have you talking near and far.
Whoever is behind the wheel of this bus is not stopping.
From hundreds of local reporters and meteorologists spanning the country.
Chaos here this morning at the UW campus.
Search LNL for the all-new Local News Live streaming app.
Make yourself known now. 83101 in traffic pursuit.
Oh my God, here.
Investigate TV Plus begins with real people.
We investigate stories that impact you
and inspire change every day.
Something is broken.
Real problems.
Why are they hiding it?
And real solutions.
My daughter was dying in front of me.
What was your reaction when he said that?
Investigate TV Plus, weekdays at 3:30 p.m. on KWCH.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy.
Mornings are busy. We're here to make your mornings better. We report the stories that affect you.
3 more hospitalized from contaminated apple juice just a day after the FDA issue a recall.
We're here to make your mornings better.
Closing east and westbound lanes of K96 for repairs.
With 12 News, you're prepared for your whole day.
Scattered thunderstorms across the state into the afternoon.
Stay a step ahead with 12 News this morning on KWCH and KSCW.
KFH. And now, digging deeper with the teams you follow, it's another Sports Daily Insider interview on KFH.
And we welcome you back in here as we get ready to talk a little KU with our KU Insider, Shreyas Laddha. You can find his work at the KC Star at SHRE98 on X. Shreyas, good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you guys?
We're good. We want to know about Tyron Stokes. Now, not because I've never heard of Tyron Stokes before yesterday. Hand to God, being honest with everybody, never heard of this dude before yesterday. A top player coming into Lawrence to visit the Jayhawks doesn't interest me that much. They all come into Lawrence to visit the Jayhawks. What does interest me is the reporting that he may be interested in reclassifying. Now I'm in because now it maybe impacts the team next year. What have you heard with this situation?
Yeah, I mean, there's a good shot. He's not playing AAU ball, next year, which is a good sign in that sense of him reclassifying. I don't know if Kansas is the number one in the leaderboard for him right now, but it's too early to kind of tell. But I know there's some excitement around him. I had a parent text me yesterday to ask about him and what I think, and, what he could add to the team. So I think there is some hope that he can join Kansas this year, because I think he'd be a big pickup for the Jayhawks.
When we're looking at some of the other players, Shreyas, that have come in, I know that it seems like there's some mutual interest with Melvin Council from St. Bonaventure. He made a visit to Lawrence, and that looks to be potentially something that could be pretty solid, a pretty good pickup for Bill Self. What do we know about him and potentially some other targets they're looking at?
Yeah, he's a good driver. I know he's a guy that has definitely a lot of interest in Kansas, and Kansas a lot of interest in him. I wouldn't be surprised if he announces that he's coming to KU within the next couple of days, even today maybe, because I think the visit went really well, and his camp is keeping a little hush-hush after the visit. But I know there's definitely been a lot of interest there. And Xavier Lee a couple of days ago from Princeton came in. I think the asking price for him reportedly is pretty high, so I'm not sure Kansas is in it. So, but I also have heard that Florida was the front runner there, but obviously things change so rapidly and it's pretty fluid. So I'm curious to kind of see what happens. Obviously, if you can pick up both these guys, it'd be great. But if you can even get one of them, I think it would go a long way. Then after that, they got to go pick up a wing and probably a backup big are the two other big needs.
What do you think about, you took the words kind of, because Tommy wondered about the backup big, and I think it's a good question. What do you think of this group as it stands, assuming they get what you think they might? Like, is this going to be a good enough team, or are they still need a splash?
Well, I think, if there's a splash, it would probably be at the forward position, right? Like, they need a forward that can score the ball alongside Flory and Darren Peterson that can complement both of them well. They don't really have a lot of true small forwards on this team. We think about it. Trey White, Bryson Tiller are both power forwards. Elmarcus Jackson, Jamar McDowell, Darren Peterson, they're all guards. So theoretically, they could play spouts of small ball five, or not small ball five, small ball three. But, they really do lack a real wing that can create and consistently kind of rely on. Even Summers Calderon, I'm not sure he's the answer, him being a freshman. But I think I like the way the roster is shaping together. I feel like, we're going back to Bill Self basketball, guys that play both ways, and everything else be damned. I think I'd like to see a little more three-point shooting, as I've said before. But, I think I'm optimistic, if I'm a Kansas fan, that they're doing a better job this year of putting the right talent around their stars versus just going out and getting the flashiest portal pickup.
Yeah, on that note, Shreyas, we posed this question earlier in the program when we were talking about Tyron Stokes and potentially reclassifying and what that might look like for the Jayhawks. If there's a situation where you've got Darren Peterson as a freshman, Tyron Stokes as a reclassified freshman, Flory Badunga as a sophomore, you've got a tremendous amount of talent on the floor. But the one thing that they lack and that Bill Self values so much is experience. And so that doesn't really look like typically what we see from Bill Self teams, where he really does value that experience so he can trust these guys in clutch moments. Do you anticipate, let's just say that happens, and even if it doesn't with Stokes and we're looking at Peterson and Badunga, is Bill Self going to have to adjust his, the way that he values things a little bit, knowing that you're leaning on guys that really don't have much experience?
Well, I think you have to, right? In the sense of the fact that the roster is going to be so different regardless. You can't, the way he coaches KJ Adams, DeJuan Harris, Hunter Dickinson is going to be completely different than the way he coaches Darren Peterson, Flory Badunga, and whoever else. But I wouldn't say necessarily the team lacks experience. Trey White is a guy that's been around for a while. Maybe he hasn't been at Kansas for a while, but he's been around for a while. So he could be somebody that Bill Self ends up trusting. Jaden Dawson has been in the league for a couple of years now. College basketball isn't new to him. He would be a big pickup. But You're right. This team is definitely a lot less experienced than last year's team. You have to adjust expectations a little bit on being fluid and ready to go off the bat. But I think the idea is that you're going for ceiling more than floor, right? Last year's floor we knew could be really low, but coming out of the bat when we got to the season start, we knew the ceiling could be hit a lot quicker than this year's team could be hit. I think this year's team there could be some struggles early on, but they could figure it out by come January because they've really started to mesh and mold and be a lot better than what last year has shown.
Let's switch to football real quick, Shreyas. We haven't talked a lot of football. We were just looking at this, kind of the North Carolina and whether they're going to be in on the Tennessee quarterback and who's got the appetite. I didn't realize this because I hadn't pulled this list up in a while. Texas Tech right now, according to 24/7, has the top class of anybody in the country. You've got Colorado in there high, which I think is great for the league. And then there's Kansas, who's essentially a top 25 portal class team. Now, we had wondered what's Kansas going to do with all of this turnover that they face. Well, they're getting aggressive. And right now they've got, top 25 is not too shabby. What is the feel for what Lance Leipold's been able to do? And how much of a chance do you give a strong transfer class to come in and give KU a shot to compete in this league next year?
Well, I think there's a lot of excitement around this team. Lance has talked about how the guys they've brought in have really assimilated into the culture and done a really good job of making sure they buy into the Kansas way. I'm trying to be out of the prediction business in April because right now I have, everyone is in their best shape of their life. And, everyone's in diets that have made them gain or lose 15 pounds, depending on who they are. But I think I feel a little more optimistic than I did in January, right? I think that's where I'm at. I don't know if they can compete for a Big 12 title, but, I do think that the schedule ideally should be a little easier than last year, at least looking at what it will be. So that's optimistic. Everyone thought the schedule last year, I think this time was going to be easy, and then it turned out to be much harder. So obviously things can flip and change, but I'm not ready to sit here and say they're going to compete for sure, but I feel better about the fact that they're, I think, closer to making a bowl game than they were where they were in January.
Well, on that note, Kansas wrapped up their spring practices last week, and Lance Leipold talked about some of the position groups that, really impressed him during spring practices. And I think a major question, as soon as we knew that Jalen Daniels was going to be returning, was who is he going to be throwing the ball to? Because they lost so much production at wide receiver from last season. It was like over 90% of the snaps gone at that wide receiver position. It does sound like from the transfer portal specifically that, Lance Leipold at least is impressed with some of these guys that they were able to bring in that could potentially make an immediate impact. Have you heard any rumblings about some of these newcomer wide receivers as far as weapons being there for Jalen Daniels?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard good things about a lot of guys, but Emmanuel Henderson from Alabama is the name that I've heard from so many guys of like, whoa, like he's the fastest guy that we played against. I think DJ Giddens was saying that to us a couple weeks ago. And the coaches have raved about him too. I think there's a real excitement that, Emmanuel Henderson can be a real wide receiver one. The guys Kansas had last year were good players, but I don't think any of them would constitute as a wide receiver one. I guess we could say Luke Grimm would be the closest to that, but I think Emmanuel Henderson is just a completely different player. I mean, Luke Grimm was a possession receiver. This guy is a burner. He's good. He's from the SEC. I mean, he cooked Georgia, I think, in one of the games back in the day. I think this year, last year, I can't quite remember. So I remember that. He didn't play that much at Alabama, but he's getting a lot of rave reviews, and I think he could be really, really good if Jalen and him can have a connection against the Big 12, because as we know, most of the Big 12 isn't really known for defense, So if there's going to be a lot of high-flying offensive games, this is where the connection that he builds with Jalen will be huge. But another guy that I pay attention to is Deshaun Hanukkah from Iowa State, tight end that didn't play but had an injury. Achilles had an injury that kept him out last year. Keon Burnett from Arizona. both those guys, I think, will make Jalen's job a lot easier, having two tight ends that he can trust. I felt like last year we missed that Mason Fairchild type player where there was a safety blanket for Jalen Daniels to just kind of throw the ball to whoever.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to evaluate all this because these things are based on need. But when we look at the list, I think they've done a good job. I know you took your prediction hat off, but generally, do you think it's a team that can compete in the league? We see Texas Tech and what they're doing right now. We know what Kansas State brings back. Generally, is KU going to be good enough to compete this year?
I mean, if the word is just compete, like win some games, have a above 500 record, yeah, I think KU can do that. If by compete you mean potentially win a Big 12 title, I don't think I'm there yet. I just need to see them play football. I think last year's team had so much continuity and returning talent that we all thought they'd be a lot better than they were, and then obviously it didn't play out that way. But I feel more optimistic about this year. I've heard good things about both Kolnicki and McDonald as offensive and defensive coordinators. I think just looking at the way they've set up things, yes, they've reloaded through the transfer portal, but they have some continuity in Jalen Daniels and some guys on defense. So it's not like everything's completely new. But obviously there's always guys that step up from last year's team that didn't play. So I do feel that they can compete in most games against most teams. And I don't know, maybe this will be the year they finally beat Kansas State.
Kansas State's got a lot coming back. We'll have lots of time to break down the Big 12 over the next few weeks. There's still players that will, impact these things certainly out there. But I do think it was worth a mention that Kansas they've been pretty good in the portal in a year they had to be. I mean, they had to do it. So, Shreyas, we appreciate it. We'll follow the latest. We'll see if this freshman Tyron Stokes, you said they need a small forward. Dude's a small forward. If he reclassifies, it's a pretty good forward that just helped Duke after a reclassification. I'm just, again, I don't know anything about this guy, but I know that he could step into a role on the team. Certainly.
100%.
We'll follow that. Go sneak around, see what you can find out about him on campus. Do your thing, because next week we want to know if he's coming and if he's going to help the Jayhawks next year.
I'll try my best. Thanks, guys.
Right. You can find it first at the KC Star and then here next week when we talk to Shreyas. Shreyas, we appreciate it. We'll talk again next week.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
I don't know, Tommy. I usually don't care about that kind of thing. I care about this one. It's just such a need on the roster in a lot of ways. So anyway, we'll have more Sports Daily coming right after this.